So the truth is, we are in a very compelling situation because it would seem if something needed to be revealed today, then it's been revealed. According to this website called Courthouse News, which, to be honest with you, I have not seen before. Something's going on where I have seen before, usually with the Department of Energy website. You'll go to the Department of Energy specifically, but not exclusively. It's happened at least 4 times where I will try to cross reference information with the Department of Energy website. And what happened is they have just a very basic HTML sort of format that the graphics and the format in the specific template have somehow been rendered unusable for a specific period of time. So all you get is text, and you get a rundown list on the left side of links that you can click on. But the actual format for the website that is usually available has been modified. It's much more remedial. It's kind of like when I first saw internet in the 90s. It was not nearly this visual. They didn't have all the visuals. They didn't have all the photos. They didn't have all of the graphics. It was just text. And that's exactly what I got up right now with this website called Courthouse News. Now, I'm going to tell you, usually when this happens, the first thing I think is somebody's hacking this website. Somebody's hacking this website because right now they're running some sort of illicit crypto. And they are using this website specifically in order to do that. Like I said, please understand, the last 4 times I've seen something like this, it was the Department of Energy. And then lo and behold, somebody makes some accusation that something else, not by the way affiliated with the Department of Energy, ended up getting hacked. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's a bypass, right? Not a pass through, a bypass. Why would they be using this site? Like I said, I have no context for this site, but it has exactly what I need right now, which are metrics. What metric does it have specifically? 35,000. Belarusian authorities responded to opposition demonstrations with a massive crackdown, including police beating thousands of demonstrators and arresting more than 35,000 people. This is what it says right now. It's dated for July 16th, 2021, Friday, July 16th, 2021. Is that today? Yes, it is. Why is that important? Because there's another public notice about the Taliban offering a 3-month ceasefire for the release of 7,000 prisoners, as well as a delisting, or rather a removal from a blacklist of certain members of leadership. I think that there were 10. Were there 10 names they wanted? And there is a reference in here to 32, right? 32 journalists. Now, some people like to do this thing where they use journalists as some sort of indication of intelligence. And that goes back to the Daniel Pearl situation, which has to do with IBEX. And we don't really talk about that. But today, apparently, is the 3rd anniversary of an effort that the Islamic Republic of Iran made in order to file a lawsuit in regards to obstruction connected to its nuclear program. So these are not isolated events, especially because the notice I have for that, which I found, is dated for February 3rd of 2021 from the International Court of Justice. What was going on at the Supreme Court of the United States this year on February 3rd of 2021? Does anybody remember? Oh, I do. There was a 2-in-1, right? It was the Supreme Court rendering 2 opinions, basically saying, well, we're not talking about Holocaust assets. We're talking about national expropriation as a justifiable argument. We're not talking about reparations for having been subjected to the Holocaust. We're talking about legitimate claims for national expropriation, as well as something having to do with the railroad, or rather, pension system and disability benefits for somebody who worked for the railroad. Right. And it was the day before a very, very, very important event. Now, at the time, I was very disappointed. I posted something online at that time without knowing what was going on at the Supreme Court of the United States, and I did not know until today what was going on at the International Court of Justice. Alleged violations of the 1955 Treaty of Amity, Economic Relations, and Consular Rights, Islamic Republic of Iran versus United States of America. It goes on, it goes on. It's a judgment. It's a judgment by 15 votes to 1. 15 votes to 1. It does find it has jurisdiction. The application is admissible. Discussing on 16 July 2018, the Islamic Republic of Iran, hereinafter Iran, filed an application instituting proceedings against the United States of America, hereinafter United States, with regard to a dispute concerning alleged violations of the Treaty of Amity, Economic Relations, and Consular Rights of 1955, which was signed by the two states in Tehran on 15 August 1955 and entered into force on 16 June 1957. Hereinafter the Treaty of Amity or the 1955 Treaty. See, the reason this is important is because February 4th of 2021 was the 40th anniversary of an audit performed by the Office of the Comptroller of Currency in the United States, specific to the railroad and specific to accounting standards related to the railroad, and how there had been a process that had gone on for several decades regarding an effort to try to obtain a different systematology when it came to taxation associated with the railroad sectors. This railroad sector was allowed to maintain a specific kind of accounting systematology that was accepted out of requirements for pretty much every other sector in the United States. And one of the things it did is it created a systematology that I contend has been used as part of the very high risk speculation that underpins the contemporary and current pension system. That it was developed primarily within the United States, but in concert with interests that had international investment in cultivating a particular systematology within the United States, and since the 80s has been exported abroad. And that with or without knowing, the international tribunal that was called to adjudicate cases between individuals within the United States or entities associated with the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran since the revolution has been used as part of that. Now, it would be kind of speculative, or rather, it would perhaps be considered conjecture for me to try to say much more about that, especially because I have not had any collegial contact with anybody, and I have no way to actually refer this or discuss this with anybody, except to let you know that these convergences also correlate with a 20%. You see, I contended, and I've put this publicly, that part of the just cause claim that, forgive me, I do not know how to say her last name, but the candidate in the Belarusian election from last summer had in saying that she was the rightful elector or the rightful representative of the people of Belarus had to do with hedging strategies, and that were there to have been a acknowledgement that the opposition parties had agreed to cede their results to her, and she had been able to account for that 0.1%, then she would have been the legitimate winner of the election. She would have hit the 20% hedge. Now we're in a situation today where the activities that have taken place over the weekend, in conjunction with what I understand to be a serious offer from an entity that has been in battle with the United States for going on 20 years, that they are offering a 3-month ceasefire in exchange for 20% of the prisoner count that is reflected in this document that is online right now, and I understand is being used in some sort of international transaction, right? There's a number of transactions going on at this time. Of course, this happens every day. This one is very, very, very important. Now, I'm not going to say much more except to acknowledge that. So, these matters in some regard are not necessarily under my jurisdiction, right? I'm just here in Texas. But this is what I understand is happening right now. How is it that I am so apprised? How is it that this is something that seems to be so relevant to me and my life and livelihood right now, especially with what I've done offline that nobody else should be privy to, right? Yesterday, there was a very, very, very serious act of pension fraud. Now, had we had an actual appropriate application of measures related to criminal justice and appropriate jurisprudence, that would have been shut down. And we would be in a period of time right now where we would be collecting evidence so that we could act very swiftly to assure that whatever the mitigating circumstances were understood to their fullest extent, and so that we could dismantle the criminality But at what level of leverage do we have to rise in order to get our just cause claims acknowledged? I wish everybody safety today, regardless of what position you're in. I support the rights of political prisoners, I do, and I support just treatment for people that have been interned, but I also understand that this is a crime in commission of progress. Would you consider this to be journalistic reporting? Would you consider this to be a part of a nuclear inspection? Would you consider it to be civic engagement? Would you consider it to be the kind of thing that you would need to completely abrogate your own constitutional duties in order to illegally say is confidential? Who's placing their bets today?